So after the Supreme Court granted, vacated, and remanded review in a magazine ban case, a lower court continued that defiance, upholding the magazine ban, but at the same time striking down a narrow aspect of the state's rifle ban. And that defiance is now once again up for review. So let's break down what is now happening. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this channel, which is First Form, and make you guys aware of a really cool giveaway that they're doing in partnership with Vortex. If you go to the First Form website down below, that's linked in the detail section in the pinned comment, or just go to the link here on the screen, you can enter into the giveaway, and Vortex is going to be giving away about $25,000 in products and prizes, and then also 3 grand prize winners will be brought out to the Vortex headquarters, and then also you will get to train with the Vortex Pro staff. And on top of all of that, if you use my dedicated link down below and your order is actually over $50, you will get an automatic free 4-pack of energy drinks. So thank you to First Form for sponsoring the channel. Check out those links down below. Enter to win that giveaway, and then also get your free energy drinks. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're gonna be talking about a case that's kind of important, and it's very interesting because of the nuanced decision that was just issued by the lower court. The lower court there, out of the Federal District Court in New Jersey, reviewed the New Jersey state ban on magazines and also their ban on so-called assault weapons. And ultimately, the court there, what they ended up finding was that the magazine ban was constitutional, but a narrow aspect of the rifle ban the court found was unconstitutional. Now, that decision out of the lower court came in 2 cases. It was a consolidated review of multiple cases, including the A&J RPC versus Platkin case, which was a challenge to the state's magazine ban, and then also the Cheeseman case, which was a challenge to the state's ban on so-called assault weapons. Now, for those not familiar with what happened in this lawsuit, we're going to talk about the A&J RPC case, how it was prior in front of the Supreme Court, was granted, vacated, and remanded to the point where now the district court issued a new decision and has started the process all over. So back in June of 2018, New Jersey passed the Assembly Bill 2761, which banned the possession of firearms magazines with a capacity of accepting or holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. Now, in response to the magazine ban case, a lawsuit was filed back in August of 2018. And on review on a final merits, the district court there granted a motion for summary judgment in favor of the state of New Jersey. So ultimately, they granted that motion, upholding what the state did with their statewide ban on magazines. In response to that, again, the plaintiffs then appealed up to a new panel in the Third Circuit. They wanted the 3-judge panel there to strike down the motion for summary judgment, but again, on review, that 3-judge panel ruled in favor of the state of New Jersey and found that that type of analysis was correct, that the state could ban these types of magazines. The plaintiffs then wanted to get en banc panel review in this case, and they filed a petition for en banc panel review and a rehearing en banc, but it was actually denied by the Third Circuit, and it was denied based on an 8-6 vote. So there were 6 judges on the Third Circuit who wanted to review this issue, but ultimately they got outvoted. And then this led to the first time this case filing a cert for Supreme Court review back in 2022. This A&J RPC case was then put on hold by the Supreme Court, and it was put on hold with a lot of other cases like the Duncan magazine ban case out of California. And then in response to Bruin, this case, A&J RPC was then granted, vacated, and remanded back down to the lower court. And it was remanded to the lower court for a new decision in light of Bruin. Once this case made its way back down to the lower court here, the district court actually consolidated the A&J RPC case with the Cheeseman case, which was a different challenge, a different lawsuit challenging the state's ban on rifles. Since it was a similar issue about statewide bans on arms, the judge there consolidated those, heard arguments and briefings on both of those cases, and then ultimately, like I mentioned, just recently issued a decision in both of those lawsuits. Now, again, the general takeaway of that decision from the lower court is that they generally upheld the magazine ban as constitutional. They found that it was not a violation of the Second Amendment. And then when it came to the rifle ban, they did strike down one narrow aspect of the state's assault weapon ban, finding that the Colt AR-15 and similar types of AR-15s, those statewide restrictions, was in fact unconstitutional. But at the same time, what the lower court did is they put a 30-day stay on that judgment because they knew the state of New Jersey was going to appeal up to the Third Circuit, and that's exactly what they did. Now, when it came to the rifle discussion in this decision, really the court said that they were only going to rule specifically when it came to AR-15s and what they called the Colt AR-15 and the language there in this specific law of New Jersey, because the court argued that a lot of the briefings and a lot of the arguments and evidence was based exclusively on AR-15s, so the court was not going to address all the other types of rifles that are implicated in this law. Again, a way for the court to try to keep the decision and the ruling as narrow as possible, because the court here knew that the Bruen decision was going to dictate what needed to happen with rifles, and they wanted to keep it as limited as possible. Now, also interesting was some discussion by the court here, and I think this was kind of a small win for us, where the court actually rejected the whole argument that the state of New Jersey put forward, where self-defense and these common use applies to only actual use in self-defense. The court here actually rejected that, and they said that no, it's simply just ownership. Ownership makes common use. And so that was also interesting, where you had a state's actual use arguments were struck down by even a court that did not want to give us a win. But then when they looked at the ANJRPC case and the state's ban on magazines, the court here actually ended up upholding that aspect of the law. And interestingly, they actually found that these magazines are still arms, they are in common use, that there is some historical context, but the more nuanced approach mentioned in Bruen, in Rahimi, and some of these other decisions by the Supreme Court, this lower court found that based on that nuanced approach, they could essentially backdoor in public interest arguments and find that the technology has changed so drastically in their eyes to where the public's interest is best served by a state outright banning these types of items, which the court here believes are dangerous and unusual. Now, when it came to looking at whether or not these magazines are arms, which is kind of the first part of the test, they found that according to the Third Circuit's precedent, they agreed that yes, these types of magazines are in fact arms within the meaning of the text of the Second Amendment, and therefore are afforded some sort of protection. And then they looked at to determine whether or not these arms, these magazines, are in common use. And once again, like I mentioned, they found yes, they are in common use. They found that these types of magazines are used and owned by millions of people, not just in the state of New Jersey, but other states as well. And they've been owned and used for more than 30 years, even within New Jersey. And so, yes, clearly they're in common use. But then when it came to looking at the historical context to determine if a state can outright ban these types of items, this is where the court here went off the rails, did not follow Bruen, and tried to use some unfortunate language in Bruen and also Rahimi and some of these other decisions to essentially come up with whatever rationale they wanted, essentially a public interest rationale to find that they could ban these magazines. Now, like I mentioned, after this decision, in this decision as well, there was a 30-day stay on the implication, so it's not like people could just outright go and do whatever they wanted even after the decision. But now this case has been appealed up to the Third Circuit. It's going to be in the hands of the Third Circuit, and they're going to have to analyze this issue once again in light of Bruen. Briefs are currently due in 30 days, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Third Circuit actually addresses this, because like I mentioned twice now, the Third Circuit has upheld this New Jersey ban. I would not anticipate maybe that they would change anything even in light of Bruen, but it's also important that these types of cases keep proceeding forward so that the Supreme Court could see even after Bruen, when they granted, vacated, and remanded all these cases for a new analysis in light of Bruen, the Supreme Court needs to see that all these lower courts are continuing to defy that decision, to still try to use public interest however they can to justify these statewide bans on either magazines or rifles or what other types of items that they want. So for those of you in New Jersey, that's where your current challenge to the rifle magazine ban stands. The appeal has been filed through the Third Circuit, and now it's going to proceed forward at that level. If anything else changes, if we get any more information, I will let you guys know. Also, if you like this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and the station will be maintained by armed scholars.